Hello and welcome back to the Deep Dive. I'm the analytical voice, always looking at the big picture and the research.
And hey there, I'm the tactics guy. I'm here to give you the practical, in-the-trenches stuff you can actually use.
I am honestly so glad you're joining us today because we are tackling a topic that, well, I think most of us are living through right now, whether we have the language for it or not.
Oh, absolutely. Looking at the research for today, I think we are about to hit a massive nerve. We're talking about that very specific, very annoying feeling where you have a weekend off, maybe you sleep for 10 hours straight.
Right.
But you still wake up on Monday morning feeling like you just ran a marathon in your sleep.
Yeah, that is the hook for today, that battery gauge. You know the feeling. Mentally, you look at it, it says 100% the green light is on, but you try to turn the ignition and the engine just won't turn over.
It's just flickering.
It's flickering at 5%. And the research suggests this isn't just, simple tiredness. That is the classic physiological signature of burnout.
And specifically, post-pandemic burnout. We're seeing a huge surge in this. Shows like 10% happier are covering it constantly. Organizational psychologists are sounding the alarm. It really feels like there's something heavy in the air.
It really does. And I think the key concept we have to start with before we get into any fixes is this idea of the long tail of exhaustion.
The long tail?
Yeah, because a lot of people are confused. They think, okay, the acute crisis phase of the pandemic it's over. The lockdowns are gone.
So why am I more tired now than I was 2 years ago when the world was literally on fire?
Exactly. It's a great question, but it makes perfect sense if you look at the physiology of stress. Think about it.
Yeah.
We spent 2 or 3 years in just absolute survival mode.
Just running on adrenaline, dealing with massive uncertainty, adapting to Zoom, then back to the office.
And when you're in survival mode, your body suppresses the fatigue. It has to, so you can keep going.
It's a survival mechanism.
Right, but now that the immediate danger signals have quieted down, the adrenaline is worn off, and our bodies are essentially presenting the bill.
Yeah. It's like the check coming due after a very long, very expensive dinner where you ordered everything on the menu.
So the mission for this deep dive is clear. We aren't just here to vent about being tired. We want to unpack a real recovery playbook.
And I'm really excited about the micro-recovery tactics we found. But I think we have to start with the big picture science. We need to understand the mechanics of why work feels so much more draining right now.
Okay, let's unpack this. There is a fascinating framework in our sources called the Demand Control Support Model. It was developed by a researcher named Robert Karasek, and it's really the bedrock of understanding modern burnout.
This was a huge aha moment for me. I think most people, myself included, we just assume burnout comes from having too much to do.
Too many emails, too many deadlines.
Yeah, just the volume.
Right, the demand side of the equation. But here's the counterintuitive finding, and I want to be really clear on this. High demands do not actually cause burnout on their own.
Wait, hold on. You're saying I can work 80 hours a week, have a massive to-do list, and not burn out? That sounds optimistic.
I know, it sounds wrong. But the data shows that people can work incredibly hard, have a massive load, and actually feel energized, feel in the zone.
Okay.
The burnout equation isn't just high demand. It's high demand paired with low control.
Okay, so that's the second leg of the stool, control.
Exactly. That combination, lots to do, but zero say in how you do it, that is what signals helplessness to the nervous system. Your brain interprets that work as a threat, not a challenge, a cage.
And if we connect this to the last few years, I mean, that's exactly what the pandemic did to us. It stripped away our control.
All of it.
We couldn't control the virus, the lockdowns, the supply chains. We were all forced into this default, just reactive mode.
But there is a third leg to this model that often gets overlooked, and it's critical. Support. The model is demand, control, and support.
Right. Social support. It acts as a buffer.
It's a huge buffer. Even if demands are high and control is low, if you have high support, if you feel like your team has your back, you can weather the storm. But the pandemic didn't just kill our control, it isolated us. It knocked out the support leg too.
So we were left with high demand, low control, and zero support.
Which is basically the perfect recipe for a physiological crash. And for many of us, that reactive mode, it just hasn't turned off.
We're still operating as if we have no agency.
Exactly. So the first pillar of recovery has to be reclaiming that agency. But how do we do that when we can't control our boss or the market?
This is where we have to exert what the sources call micro-control. It sounds small, maybe even trivial, but it's biologically potent.
Okay.
Since we can't always control the major deadlines, we have to find agency in the details.
So give us some concrete examples. What does that look like on a Tuesday morning?
Okay, can you control the specific setup of your desk? Can you choose which pen you use? Or, maybe more substantially, can you set a hard rule, a personal boundary about not checking email before 8:30 a.m.?
I can hear people saying, sure, but my boss expects me to answer.
And that might be true, but even the act of deciding I will answer this at 8:30, not 8.1 feed, that is an act of control. It's not about changing the company culture overnight. It's about changing your immediate environment.
And the why here is crucial, right? Biologically, taking those small actions signals to the brain, I am the driver, not the passenger.
That's it. You're telling your nervous system, I have a say here. You are reclaiming the control leg of that stool.
Okay, so that's the structural side. But I want to pivot to the psychological side,
Yeah.
because our sources brought up a name that, well, honestly, it triggers a reaction in some people. Dr. Kristin Neff.
Yes, the leading academic expert on self-compassion.
Now, be honest. I can see you wincing a little bit.
Look, I'll admit it. I used to be a total skeptic about this stuff. I thought self-compassion sounded, well, soft, indulgent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, poor me. I had a hard day. I'm going to go eat a gallon of ice cream.
Right. That is the common fear, especially for high achievers. We have this deep-seated belief that our inner critic, that voice yelling at us to work harder, is the secret sauce of our success.
We think if we stop whipping ourselves, we'll lose our edge, become complacent.
We think the self-flagellation is the fuel.
Yeah.
But Neff's research, and this is where it gets really interesting for skeptics, it refutes that fear completely with hard data.
Yeah, she found that the inner drill sergeant, that harsh self-criticism, actually spikes cortisol levels.
Which keeps the body in fight-or-flight mode.
Exactly. It triggers the sympathetic nervous system. Your body doesn't know the difference between a lion chasing you and you telling yourself you're a failure.
It's the same stress hormones. So if you're already burned out, engaging in self-criticism is literally draining your battery faster.
It's just incredibly inefficient. From a performance standpoint, it's a disaster. You're burning energy on internal conflict that you should be using to solve problems.
So what's the alternative? And let's be specific, because we aren't just talking about being nice to yourself. It's a physiological intervention.
The tactic here is called the best friend test. It's so simple, but it is incredibly hard to do in the moment. When you drop the ball, you stop and ask, what would I say to a friend in this exact situation?
And the contrast is usually so stark, it's almost funny.
Right. You wouldn't look at your best friend who's drowning in work and say, wow, you're such an idiot. You're lazy. Work harder.
Hopefully not. If you did, you wouldn't have friends for very long.
Exactly. You'd say, hey, look at the reality. You're doing the work of 3 people. The timeline was unrealistic. It's okay to take a break.
And when you direct that same language inward, you are engaging the parasympathetic nervous system. You're moving from stress to rest.
It's a toggle switch for your biology. So if you catch your inner critic, try to swap the script. It's not about letting yourself off the hook. It's about stopping the internal abuse so you can actually recover.
I think that leads perfectly into the next section. Because even if we change our mindset, the emails are still coming in, the Slack notifications are still dinging. I'm sure we have listeners saying, that's great, but I don't have time for a retreat. I don't have a spa day to reset my nervous system.
And that is the biggest trap. Thinking recovery has to be this big, grand event. I'll recover when I go on vacation in 6 months. You won't make it. You need micro-recovery.
Our sources call these oasis moments.
Right. The goal is to oscillate between stress and rest throughout the day, rather than waiting until you crash at 8 p.m. We're talking about breaks that are 30 to 90 seconds long.
But wait, does 30 seconds actually do anything?
It does if you do it right. But let's look at the why first. There's research on something called attention residue.
Oh, this is the whiteboard concept.
Exactly. The research shows that when you switch tasks, say from a budget meeting to brainstorming, part of your brain is literally still processing the last task. You're carrying residue.
It's like a whiteboard you never fully erase.
You just keep writing over the old notes, and by 4 p.m., you aren't just dealing with the current task, you are dragging the accumulated weight of every stressful moment from 9 a.m. onwards.
So these oasis moments are the eraser.
You wipe the slate clean.
So walk us through this. I'm between Zoom calls, I have 90 seconds. What do I do?
Okay, the playbook lists 3 concrete techniques. First is the visual reset. We spend all day locking our eyes on screens 18 inches away. That creates immense strain. So look away, find something 20 feet away, look out a window, and just soften your gaze. Panoramic vision signals safety to the brain.
It sounds too simple to work, but it relaxes the optical nerve.
Second is sensory grounding. Get out of your head and into your body. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel the texture of your chair. Just for 10 seconds. It breaks the loop of rumination.
And the third one.
This is my favorite, the physiological sigh. This comes from neurobiology. It's 2 sharp inhales through the nose. So sniff, then another little sniff, followed by 1 long, slow exhale through the mouth.
And this isn't just take a deep breath. It's mechanical.
Right. It effectively offloads carbon dioxide and mechanically slows down the heart rate. 1 or 2 of these can reset your stress baseline in about 15 seconds.
I love that. It's actionable, it's fast, and nobody on the Zoom call even needs to know you're doing it.
Exactly.
So we've got microcontrol, the best friend test, and oasis moments. But there's one more area we need to deep dive into, and this one is specifically for the high achievers who love flow states.
Yeah, yes, the low stakes flow. This is my personal favorite part of the research.
So we know flow is that state of deep focus where time disappears. We usually associate that with our best work, writing a big brief, coding, giving a presentation.
But the problem is, for most of us, we only access flow when the stakes are incredibly high. If you mess up the presentation, you lose the client. That is high-stakes flow. It's biologically expensive.
And then when we get done with that exhausting work, what do? We say, I need to relax, and we doom scroll for 2 hours.
And we think that's relaxing because we aren't moving. But explain why that's a mistake neurologically.
Well, your brain is still processing data. You're reading headlines, comparing yourself to others, your executive function, the part that makes decisions and processes info, it never actually gets a break.
It's still running a marathon, just on a different track. So the solution is low-stakes flow. You need an activity that lets you get into the zone, but has absolutely 0 consequences if you fail.
0. The outcome has to be irrelevant.
Right. For me, the example is cooking. I can get in the zone chopping vegetables. It's rhythmic, it's focused. But if the pasta is slightly overcooked, nobody dies.
The world keeps turning. For me, it's watercolor painting. And I want to be clear, I am terrible at it.
I've seen your work. It's expressive.
Hey. But that's the point. When I'm focusing on mixing the blue and the green, my problem-solving circuit turns off. I'm not trying to optimize it or monetize it. I'm just doing it.
That is the key. You have to give your executive function a real break. If you're doing a hobby where you're trying to win or get better or post it for likes, that is not low-stakes flow. That's just work in disguise.
So the homework for everyone listening is to find a hobby specifically because you can be bad at it.
Gardening is a great one. Puzzles, baking, building Lego sets.
As long as there's no scoreboard, no quarterly review, and no boss, it counts.
And you have to protect that time. Because in a burnout state, the first thing we sacrifice is our leisure. We think, I'm too tired to paint, I'll just scroll. You have to fight that urge.
So let's bring this all together. We started with the long tail of pandemic exhaustion, validating that, yes, you are supposed to be tired right now.
Then we looked at the science, the demand control support model. So reclaim microcontrol wherever you can, even if it's just your morning routine.
Then we moved to the psychology. Dr. Kristin Neff's work on self-compassion. Use the best friend test not to be soft, but to stop the cortisol spikes that are killing your efficiency.
We talked about oasis moments, visual resets, physiological sighs, to wash away that stress residue before it accumulates.
And finally, low-stakes flow. Find something you can do where the outcome just doesn't matter.
If we connect this all to the bigger picture, I think we need a massive reframe. In a post-pandemic world, recovery is not lazy. It is not something you do when you have time.
Right. It's not a reward for good behavior.
It is a professional discipline. You simply cannot perform at a high level if you are running on fumes. You have to treat your energy management with the same seriousness that you treat your calendar.
That is such an important takeaway. It's part of the job description now, and I think that touches on boundaries. Saying no to the 8 p.m. email isn't about being difficult. It's about protecting the asset, and the asset is you.
Absolutely. If the battery dies, the machine stops.
We want to hear from you on this. What is your low-stakes flow activity? Are you a bad painter like me? A gamer? A baker?
Figure out what that is and actually block out time for it. Treat it as seriously as a client meeting.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's a heavy topic, but hopefully these tactics give you a place to start.
Take care of yourselves, everyone. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
See you next time.